Have you ever looked at your life and wondered why you stopped just short of what you know you are capable of? Have you ever felt that something inside you is holding you back, even when the opportunity is right and the path seems clear? And have you ever asked yourself this difficult question? Do I truly believe that I am worth growing, changing, and becoming more than I am right now? Before we go any further, if these questions resonate with you and you value deep conversations about growth and transformation, feel free to subscribe. Because together, we explore the inner laws that quietly shape our lives, often without us realizing it. The third law of growth is one of the most personal and most confronting laws John Maxwell presents. It is called the law of the mirror, and it can be summarized in one powerful truth. You must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. Growth does not begin with skills, strategies, or opportunities. Growth begins with how you see yourself. The image you hold inside, the silent story you tell yourself about who you are and what you deserve, determines how far you are willing to go and how much effort you are willing to invest in yourself. Many people believe they lack discipline, intelligence, talent, or luck. But according to this law, what most people actually lack is a healthy perception of their own value. They may work hard, but they do not truly believe they are worth the work. They may dream, but they do not fully believe they deserve the dream. And because of that, they unconsciously sabotage their own growth. The mirror Maxwell talks about is not the physical mirror. It is the internal mirror. It is the way you see yourself when no one is watching. It is the voice in your head when you fail. It is the explanation you give yourself when something does not work. If the mirror you look into every day shows you someone unworthy, incapable, or inferior, then growth will always feel heavy, forced, and temporary. Self-image is not something you were born with. It is something that is built over time. It is shaped by experiences, words, comparisons, successes, failures, and especially by repeated messages. A harsh comment, a painful comparison, a rejection, or a moment of humiliation can quietly shape how you see yourself for years. And once that image settles inside you, it begins to control your decisions. Maxwell explains that people do not rise above the image they have of themselves. They may occasionally perform above it, but they will eventually return to the level they believe they deserve. That is why some people quit too early, settle for less, or avoid opportunities that could change their lives. Not because they cannot succeed, but because deep down they do not believe they should. The law of the mirror teaches that growth requires permission, and the first person who must give you permission to grow is you. If you do not see yourself as someone worth investing in, you will not consistently invest in yourself. You will delay, you will hesitate, you will stop when things get uncomfortable. You will choose safety over growth. One of the biggest misunderstandings about self-worth is that it must come from achievement. Many people believe they will value themselves once they succeed. But Maxwell reverses this logic. He explains that success grows out of self-worth, not the other way around. You must first believe you are valuable before you can build something valuable. This does not mean arrogance or ego. Seeing value in yourself is not saying you are better than others. It is saying that you matter, that your growth matters, and that your life is worth developing. Humility and self-worth can exist together. In fact, healthy self-worth allows humility, because you no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. Another key idea in the law of the mirror is that the way you talk to yourself matters more than the way others talk to you. External criticism only has power if it confirms an internal belief. If you already believe you are not good enough, one negative comment can stop you for years. But if you see your value clearly, criticism becomes feedback, not identity. Maxwell emphasizes that many people are prisoners of old mirrors. They are still seeing themselves through past failures, past labels, or past versions of themselves. They have grown, learned, and changed, but their self-image has not caught up. Growth requires updating the mirror. You must learn to see yourself as a growing person, not as a finished product defined by your past. The law of the mirror also explains why some people resist personal development. Improving yourself forces you to look at yourself honestly, and honesty can be painful if your self-image is fragile. That is why some people mock growth, dismiss learning, or avoid reflection. It is not because growth is useless. It is because growth threatens the image they are afraid to change. To apply this law, Maxwell encourages intentional actions that slowly rebuild self-image. One of those actions is keeping small promises to yourself. Every time you say you will do something and you actually do it, your internal mirror changes. You begin to see yourself as reliable, capable, consistent. Self-image does not change through words alone. It changes through evidence. Another practice is recognizing progress instead of perfection. People with low self-worth only see what is missing. People who value themselves see improvement. Growth is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming better. When you acknowledge your progress, even if it is small, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who grows. Maxwell also warns against comparison, because comparison distorts the mirror. When you compare your behind the scenes with someone else's highlights, you will always feel smaller. Comparison makes you judge your value based on someone else's journey. The law of the mirror reminds you that your worth is not measured against others. It is measured against your own potential. One of the most powerful shifts this law creates is responsibility. When you see your value, you stop waiting for others to validate you. You take ownership of your growth. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop asking for permission. You realize that no one owes you belief, but you owe it to yourself. The law also explains why environment matters. If you surround yourself with people who constantly diminish you, mock your growth, or reinforce a negative image, your mirror will crack. Growth requires environments that reflect possibility, not limitation. Sometimes growth requires distance from voices that keep you small. Another core idea in this law is that self-image and behavior are connected. You always act in alignment with how you see yourself. If you see yourself as disciplined, you behave with discipline. If you see yourself as lazy, you reinforce laziness. Growth begins when you consciously choose a new identity and start acting in alignment with it, even before you fully believe it. Maxwell teaches that you do not wait for confidence to act. You act, and confidence follows. Action is the fastest way to update the mirror. Each small action sends a message to your mind. This is who I am becoming. The law of the mirror also has a deeper implication. When you see your own value clearly, you are better able to see the value in others. People who lack self-worth often tear others down. People who see their own value do not need to compete, compare, or diminish. Growth becomes collaborative instead of defensive. At its core, this law is about permission. Permission to learn, permission to fail, permission to change, permission to take time, permission to grow slowly. When you see your value, you give yourself room to evolve without shame. In the end, the law of the mirror reminds us that growth is not blocked by lack of resources, but by lack of self-belief. You cannot grow beyond the image you accept. But the moment you choose to see yourself as a growing, capable, learning person, everything begins to shift. So ask yourself honestly, what do you see when you look into your internal mirror? Do you see someone limited by the past, or someone shaped by it? Do you see someone unworthy of investment, or someone whose growth matters? Because the way you answer that question will quietly determine how far you are willing to go. You do not need to become someone else to grow. You only need to see yourself clearly and decide that you are worth the effort. Growth begins the moment the mirror changes. And the mirror changes the moment you decide to see your value.